Safety management for strata and commercial buildings. This is one of a two-part series where we'll be looking at the requirements from underneath the legislation that affects body corporates and owners corporations around Australia. So we'll be looking at those impacts from them. We'll go through a case study as well and give you an idea on the duty of care and how to minimise your impact. Okay, so the Workplace Health and Safety Act requires all persons who conduct a business, or whoever is a person who's in management of the workplace or control of the workplace, needs to minimise their risk. So the body corporate has been deemed as a work area because you've got contractors coming to and from, and there's been some litigation where this has come into contention where a Telstra worker was working from home and she was walking down the stairs and she had her stockings on. She slipped going down the stairs and actually hurt herself by falling down the stairs, and because she was working from home, that was considered to be a workspace, and Telstra was sued for not for providing a safe workplace. So it's quite the main thing is slips, trips and falls that people have been being sued against for the body corporate, and this is where some of these claims are going up over from 40,000 up to 150,000. So yeah, we need to try and reduce these risks or try to manage and control these in the workplace. So what we'll do, we're going to have a look at a couple of items that picked up as we've gone around on that people have just haven't taken any notice at all. So the regulations require the person who's in control of the workplace to ensure that there's a safe place of work that's been prepared. So the workplace risks must be maintained and reviewed if necessary on a yearly basis or a bi-yearly if no hazards are apparent. So let's have a look at some of these lovely little items here. So the first one here, this is a two-storey building. Nice little barbecue decided to be put on the common area balcony. So you imagine you're cooking a barbecue up here, that's fine, and then the poor person who's going to go in their unit underneath, the risk of that is having a burning oil going on top of them. So that's a fairly high risk, and it hasn't even been authorised from the body corporate, not to mention the cylinder sitting on the side. So, or what if a big gust of wind comes along and blows that lid off and also that brick? So that could be a projectile coming off from there. So that's the first part. Another wonderful item is these pot plants. So you can see them on the top of the balcony railing. So what if someone comes along, leans on those, and that goes flying over the edge? So there's another risk sitting there. And or even with the pot plant sitting here, imagine if a kid comes along, can climb up on the pot plant and get up on the railing. So all these little items can make a big impact. Non-standard stairs. These are a nice one as well. So they're non-standard stairs. So they're so what if you're coming down there with your shopping or something like that and trip over? You've got no handrail to grab onto. So we need to make sure that things are done by the Building Code of Australia to make sure or to minimise the risk. So there's three good items there that give you an idea on some things that can go wrong, but that's just more being careless than anything else. So you can either contact Sydney or myself, and we'll be happy to help you to give you an idea on how to minimise your risk to your body corporate and owners corporation. In the next slide, what we'll be looking at is we'll go through the report and some of these items in the safety report and the areas that we look at and the items that we look at in those sections. So that was a little bit of a sneak peek that we'll look at in the next slide or the next series. Safety management for strata and commercial buildings. This is part 2 of the series. So we're looking at the requirements underneath the OH&S law to minimise your risk to the body corporate or your own building. Okay, so what we looked at earlier on was underneath the Workplace Health and Safety Act. So whoever's in control of the workplace is a responsible person. So we need to reduce that risk. First of all, we need to identify that risk. So then once that's been identified, you can take appropriate action. So we'll look at what sections we need to look at as part of the review of this process. So we'll go through one of the reports. So this is a sample report from, so this has got part commercial, part residential. So there's a few different components in this area from here. So let's look at some components that goes through this building. Okay. So this is just a small scope of an area that we've looked at. So we're looking at the vehicle area, external pathways, internal pathways, electrical, boundary fencing and balconies. So some of the things you might want to look at in your driveway area. Signage, so low vehicle signage that goes into basements and stuff like that. So you got cars can go into a basement that don't know, or four-wheel drives that got roof racks on can knock out your plumbing. Visibility, so you're looking for blind spots around the area so you can see around the corner so you don't run into anyone. Surface variation, so anything over 10 millimeters in height, you need to have a look at that before you need to either grind that down to an even level or highlight that. Surface conditions, so you're looking for contamination on pathways, maybe build up of moss or something like that. Access and egress, so the pathways are nicely trimmed so you can get in and out. You haven't got trees and that sticking out on your footpath so you can't get stabbed by a plant. So next section, external pathways, so we're looking at stairways, making sure they're built to the building code. So when we're looking at our other one here, so stairways from here, so that would be a non-complying stairway. Path surface variations, path surface condition, access and egress again. So that's all pretty straightforward from there. Next section, if you're looking at internal pedestrian ways, now there's been an increase from the insurance companies recommending the slip testing of the tiles to work out if a treatment needs to be done. So this is where we're looking at stairways, stair railings, walkway surface variations, the condition of the walkways, if there are either repairs or applications that may need to be done to it, I suppose. Access and egress, so there's no blockages in the stairways like chairs and stuff, and bicycles are a good one that are stored in common area. We go into the electrical. Now we look at the community circuits to make sure that they're protected by a RCD, so residual control device, and then once they're installed, they've got to be tested once every 2 years. So if someone uses common property and cuts a power cord or does something, then the RCD will trip off and then the person won't get electrocuted. Boundary fencing, make sure that the boundary fencing is all in good working order, and also look at the thoroughfare, so people taking shortcuts through the property who shouldn't be there or authorised, so that's going to minimise some of the risk from there. Also when you're looking at the balconies, so falling objects, so when we're looking at those pot plants, visual deterioration, so some of the wooden balconies might be having a bit of stripe in there. So then once you've picked what items that need to be done, you put together a action plan to rectify the risks to minimise that to your body corporate. So that should give you a bit of an idea how that goes.
We hope this short review was helpful. If you'd like to find out more, click the link below this video now.